Okay, so this week we're going to build a character and do some lip syncing. So you're going to record your own audio. Let me just play this so you can see what it looks like. Now, I haven't had a lot of time. You're going to spend a lot more time to work on yours, but you'll make different mouth movements.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing.
And they will match up with the sound that you've recorded. So first we're going to start with how to build the character, and then we're going to work on syncing up the mouth movements and creating the mouth movements. So some really important things about designing your character is that you have to be careful and stay away from copyright issues, and especially trademark characters. So you don't want to use anything that you see on TV or in the movies. Stay away from like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and Disney. All that stuff you cannot use. And I would, even if you're wanting to copy the style, I would be really careful about that, because for it to be legal, it has to be changed a significant amount for you to use it legally. So the best way to stay safe and make sure you're following all the copyright laws is to make your own character. If you have no idea what to do, you can just find a picture of yourself, like this is a version of me and I'm just breaking it down into simple shapes. You can use your favorite cartoon characters, like this is Daria's my favorite, to think about like what the eye shape will be. You know, that's why I don't have the white around the eyeballs, because I kind of like the eyes they used in the Daria cartoon. But like in Bob's Burgers, they have the white eyeballs, but everything is super simple. So you're thinking about like the defining characteristics of the character. Like for these, they have no chin, right? And the mom has the big glasses that match her shirt. So, or the bunny ears on Louise, or Tina's glasses. Like, think about these defining characteristics, but look at how super, super simple they are. They only have 4 fingers. You know, think about how you can break down your character and simplify it as much as you can. You can also do animals, if you've ever seen this show, BoJack Horseman, but you want to create it on 2 legs. So, you know, obviously don't copy BoJack, but you can take your pet and make them be on 2 legs. You can also think about like doing some kind of monster characters. Again, just make sure you're creating your own, because we are going to use this character to do lip syncing this week, and then we're going to put it in a walk cycle next week. So you want to make sure you have the 2 legs for that to work. You can always design a new character for next week, but it will just be easier if you don't have to. Really think about how you're breaking down your character, what your inspiration is, and how you're making it totally unique to yourself. So another thing you can't do is you can't use like a likeness of, so this is a likeness of me, and likenesses of famous people or of anybody are also not allowed and not legal to use. So you couldn't use like a likeness of a celebrity or anyone else. I think if you want to do a more realistic character, you should just use yourself or someone who's giving you permission, like a family member or a friend. Or if you want to do a non-human character, you know, use your pet, use something that you don't see out in the world already, just to be careful about that. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all the details on how to build the character, because I think that would be really boring and everybody's is going to be so different. I'm just going to show you the really important parts of the setup here. So I have the character on one layer. I'm here in my scene, and the character is a library animation. Here in my library, I should have named it character. Here, let me rename it so as not to be confusing. Okay, so I can double click on it, and this is a library animation. So you can see the mouth is not there, and you can see in my character library animation, I have everything broken down. I have the hair as a separate layer, the glasses, the eyes, the head, the arm. The arm is separate from the shirt. The shirt is just this part here, and then, oh, I have them all locked. The shirt is this part here, and then the arm is separate. The hands are notoriously difficult. I suggest just doing like a mitten hand. It looks fine. Think of it as a mitten, you know, with a little thumb and a point coming out. I think that's plenty. Don't drive yourself crazy with that. The legs, I just made a leg, an ankle, and a shoe, and then I selected them all and copied it onto a different layer. And if you're doing the right and the left, think about the characters right and left. just because I think that's easier. You can do whatever makes sense for your brain, but that's how I do it. And then the eyes are also their own library animation. So the eyes here I have on a layer in the character library animation, and then you can double click on it to get into, now when I double clicked on it, you can see up here I have my scene, my character, and then my eyes, brows, nose library animation that's here. Since I double clicked on it, I can actually be working in this library animation while seeing the rest of my design here. So and the reason I have the eyes separate, and I have the eyebrows in there, I have the pupil, which is like the black part, and a little highlight, and I have just the eyelid. Yours could be the whole eyeball with the white around it. And then I have the iris, that's the part that's colored. And I have the nose in here too, because if you're wanting to animate the eyes and stuff, I think you would move those all at the same time. So that's why I have them all grouped together in their own library animation. So I'm going to come back to my character, and everything else on the character is in here except the eyes. So one thing I do want to show you that I don't think we went over is how to make these strokes that are variable width. So you can do it a couple ways. You can just use the pen tool. Well, actually, let's start with the oval tool to keep it really simple. So I can come in and click, and I have made some swatches for like skin tone and highlights and shadows. So let me show you how to do that. So I can find a swatch that I like, and I can select the color here, find the exact right color that I want for the skin tone that I want, and press OK. And then I can come into my swatches, and I can click this little piece of paper, create new swatch, and it's going to show up down here. So I can keep track of my palette. I really suggest using a limited palette for this, just to keep your life easier. Okay, so I'm going to draw a head with an oval shape, and I have the fill color, like a brown skin tone color, and then the stroke color black. And then I'm just going to make this oval. And now I can use my selection tool, and you can come in and add some shape. You can add this for the forehead. See it when we did this in the beginning, how my cursor's changing. You can make, adjust for the chin. You can do a lot of adjustments here. You can also come in the sub-selection tool, which is A, and you can adjust all of these things. But I want to show you how to change the stroke. So remember this ink bottle tool? I can select on my stroke here, and I can change the variable width. So I'm in my properties, I'm in my fill and stroke. I can make it thicker. I can try these different versions and click on the stroke there. So you can see what makes sense for your particular shape. So try these different widths in the fill and stroke, and I'm in the ink bottle tool, and I'm just clicking on here to adjust it. And then below the ink bottle tool is this width tool. So it's this kind of looks like a gesture. So you can come in with the width tool. Like here it looks way too thin, so I'm just clicking and expanding that. And then if you want it thinner in some places, you can click, and I'm kind of clicking and moving my mouse in. So you can really spend a lot of time with the width tool, and then also with the ink bottle tool, adjusting these different variable width options on the stroke, getting the stroke for that looking really great. Okay, so I realized I drew this on the eyes layer, so I'm just selecting it, and I'm doing Control X. And then I'm coming into my head layer, and I'm doing Edit, Paste in Place, if you get it in the wrong layer. And then I'm going to lock all my other layers, and I'm going to add hair. So I'm just unlocking the hair layer. So this is all built already, but I'm just showing you how, like, some important things of how I built it. So make a new layer for the hair, and I'm going to use the pen tool to draw this out. So I have a black outline, and since this is locked, I can just start drawing anywhere. So you can make, you know, whatever kind of hair it is. Just think about breaking down the shapes to simplify it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm doing kind of like the outline of where the hair would be. And this is a 3/4 view of the figure. So we're seeing both eyes. Let me show you an image of that. So this is a 3/4 view here. So this is a front view and then the profile. And with the 3/4 view, when we go to make it walk later, it'll be able to walk sideways on our screen, right? But we can still see both eyes and we can see the mouth. So we can add a lot of expression to the character and still make it walk sideways. So that's the idea of keeping the 3/4 view. With the 3/4 view, the eye that's further away is just going to be a little smaller. Okay, back to the hair. So this is the hair, and then I can come with my fill. If I want to make it a darker brown, I can come in here. And in this color picker, the first one is the H is the hue, which is just the color, right? And the S is the saturation. If there's 0 saturation, it's black and white. Let me cancel out of there and get back to my brown. So if I want a darker brown for the hair, the B is the brightness. So if I turn the brightness down, it's going to get much, much darker, right? So I'm going to press OK, and that's in my fill. And then I'm going to come to my bucket tool, and I can just fill that shape in. I can also get rid of the stroke, so I can press V and delete the stroke shape if I want, or you can leave the stroke. To make some details in the hair, I'm going to make some like black details to make it look like it's wavy, and I'm going to do that with the pen tool also. I'm going to choose a variable width here, and maybe I'll make it smaller, like 3. And then with the pen tool, I'm just clicking, and drawing a line to kind of give it some detail. And then since I don't want to make a closed shape, I just hit escape to keep it. Oh, my stroke here is the wrong color. I want to make it black. So for my next one, so I just changed my stroke color to black. You can do highlights too, whatever you want. So you could do highlights and shadows this way, and then press escape. And you can see, because I have this variable width chosen, it's giving it a more realistic look. Actually kind of like the highlight in there. So for mine, you can see I did a couple that same exact way. And then I built the eyes in a similar way with the pen tool, and for the eyeball, for the irises, the blue part, I just used the oval tool. And the nose I just built with the pen tool, and then I used the, I used the sub-selection A, and I came in and zoomed in really close. I'll have to get in here. Press V and double click in here. And I use the sub-selection A to come in and zoom in all the way, and then I can move these little points. So you just kind of make a basic shape, and then you can move the points around. All right, let me zoom out. Let me get back into my character. All right, I'm going to show you how to make this shadow shape. For the shadow shape, we can use the pen tool to kind of build our shadow. I'm in my pen tool, and I'm thinking about where the shadow would be on this, and I want to draw it outside, starting from the outside of the head. So I'm starting in the hair here. So you want to make sure the width when you're drawing the shape for your shadow is just uniform, because what happens with the variable width ones, they can kind of break up. You can also draw this with the pencil tool, which is here, especially if you turn the smoothing on your pencil all the way up. Let's see how that looks. So I'm drawing where my shadow shape will be, and I'm on my head layer. So I have my head layer unlocked. because I want the shadow to be on the head. And I'm drawing outside of the hair here. So I'm just drawing a shape, have smooth turned on, then I'm pressing V, and I can press I, the eyedropper, to pick up this color. I can come in here and get just like a little bit, turn the brightness down to just get like a little bit of a darker shadow, like a subtle one here. And then I can use my paint bucket and fill that in. Let's see, let's get out of here. So you just use your paint bucket to fill that in, and then I want to get rid of this line because that doesn't look so good. So I'm going to zoom in, pressing V on my keyboard and selecting and just deleting that line. And there's one, sometimes there'll be some on the outside, so just zoom in and check. So that's a way to make a quick shadow, and I think that adds a lot to your character. That's how I did this over here. Okay, so just to go over the eyes again, I have the eyes in their own layer here on my character library animation. I'm in here, and then I can double click on them. Sorry, keep double clicking on the glasses. I can double click on them to be in my eyes, brows, nose. You know, I right clicked and I just made one circle for the eye. Then I right clicked, converted it into a symbol. It shows up here in my library. And then I made one eye, and then I copied it and can hold shift. So I have the eyelid, the pupil. I copied the whole thing and then transform, flipped it. So you can do right click, transform, flip horizontal. And then for the second one, I just kind of rotated it, made it a little smaller and moved it around. Same thing with the eyebrows. I made one, I just made this with the pen tool with the variable width. Same with the little eyelid here, pen tool with the variable width. And then I just copied it, did a right click, transform, flip horizontal. So since all of yours are going to be different, I didn't want to spend a bunch of time doing this. I just want to say for the eyes and for important stuff that's going to move around, you want that in its own library animation. So especially the pupil, you want on its own layer within that library animation so you can move it around without cutting a hole in the iris that's behind it. Because if this pupil was on the same layer as the blue part, the iris, it would cut a hole every time you wanted to move it, which for animation would be super annoying because you'd have to fill it in each time with a paint bucket. Okay, so keep going, building your character. I'm gonna zoom out so you can see a little more. So do everything but the mouth, and then we're gonna do the mouth together. So think about what the body shape is, add some shadows. You know, I could add some more interesting shadows in here. Maybe the back leg will be a little darker. So everything should have its own layer. So then once you get the character except the mouth set up, I'm gonna come back into the scene and you wanna add a background. So your background will be on its own layer. Mine here is pretty boring. You can make your character exist in any world that you want to, you know, make it interesting and get really creative with it. And you can really do whatever you want. We are gonna do a close-up version so we can see the mouth moving, but first I want to talk about getting the audio in there because you might not know when you want the close-up to start before you get the audio in. So there's a lot of ways to do audio. If you have a way to record sound, you can do it however you want. If you don't have a way to record sound, the way I did it was just with a voice memo on my phone, on my iPhone. Most phones these days come with some kind of voice memo. Most laptops will allow you to record sound. The important thing is that it's an MP3 player. So you can really do it however you want. If you can also use the recording studio in the design lab in the library here at school. You can really do anything. There are some also free audio programs. Audacity is a free open source audio editing program where you can record into that too from your computer. Or if you have a microphone at home, you can also use like your earbuds if they have a microphone. So it's really up to you. I think the easiest way is to record a voice memo on your phone. Now what happened, the voice memo comes in as let's look at it, as this M4A file, which Animate is not going to read. So I just emailed this to myself, I right-clicked on it, I saved it into my folder here, and then I had to convert it. So there's an online free converters. You can just open the file in here, you pick it from your folder, open, change it to an MP3. That's what Animate needs. You can turn the quality up and just press convert, and then you can download it. It takes only a second. So I'll put a link to that in Canvas if you need to do that. So if you do a voice memo, just make sure to convert it. So to get your audio recording into Animate, you just file, import to library, and you pick your MP3. Remember, it has to be an MP3, and then it will import here into your library. You'll make a new layer for audio. So I'll make a new layer, and then you'll click on frame 1, and you can see in the properties when I click on frame 1, there's sound here. So all you have to do is choose from the drop down. It only shows me one because I only have one MP3 in there, and then it will show up automatically on your timeline for however long your like animation is. So you can just go to your background and press F6 and it will last that long. Oh, make sure, one more thing in your audio, make sure the sync is to stream. So just make sure that's checked. Okay, one important thing about the audio is that you have to record your own audio. You cannot download anything from the internet. You need to make your own audio. If you hate your voice, you can maybe get someone else to do it for you, but I really want you to make original audio for this and learn how to record something, and that it's not that complicated. It's pretty simple, actually. I just did testing, 1, 2, 3. It's okay if at the beginning, there's a second or a little less of space, because that's actually good. We're gonna do the close-up in that time. But if you have like 5 seconds of dead space, you should go in and re-record it and edit that out any way you can. Again, if you have your own way of recording audio, that's totally fine. So for the close-up, we're going to start, we want to see the whole scene when we first come into the animation, and then we want to close up so we can see what the mouth is doing, and we're just going to do like a cut to close up, like it's going to jump right to the close up. So where you want the audio, where the audio starts, mine's here at 1 second. I want the close up to happen before that, so maybe I'll say around 20. So I have the character, and I'm going to press F6 here, and then the background I'm going to have to adjust as well, so I'll press F6 here. So I'm going to hold Control to select on both at that point, so I'm pressing Control, both are selected, and I can press my free transform, which is Q, and I can actually zoom out a little bit, and I can just zoom in super close, and so that this is the stage, this rectangle here, so I can zoom out even more and get it bigger. So make sure you're scaling the background with it as well, and then I can come to fit in window, and that's going to look better for the talking part. Now you want to make sure, if you have your character built here with other frames, I had other frames in here, so I'm just gonna Control click, and I'm gonna right click and remove these frames. And get this out of here. So right click, I just held Shift to select all those and removed frames. And then I'm going to come out to the end of where my audio is and press F6 and F6 to keep that close up. So if you were messing around and you had other frames in here, you just want to make sure it doesn't zoom back out. So this whole time it's staying on the close-up. and that's because I had the last frame the same as this close-up frame. So I'm just going to play this so you can hear the audio for a second and see the jump cut.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing.
Okay, my audio is super boring. You can make a joke, you can say a poem, obviously keep it professional. So what we're gonna do is create the different shapes of the mouth, and then you can see I have them set up on this layer. We're gonna have them corresponding to the sound. And it's not as complicated as it sounds, it just takes a little bit of time. So here is, let me show you this. So phonemes are like phonetics, right? They're the different shapes of the mouth. If you just Google phoneme and you can like search for animation, a ton come up. Like people have been working on this a lot. So this is not copyrighted. These mouth shapes you can copy from what other people have done and figured out. So you don't have to do it on your own. Some will have like 3D animations of it. Or 3D versions of it. Some will be actual photos. Preston Blair is this famous animator from back in the day who, you know, developed these. I think his original is somewhere around here. Not seeing it in this list, but you can, oh, I think this is Preston Blair's original. So you can find one that sort of corresponds to your character and what your character will look like. They can be really helpful. You do not have to recreate it all. You can make it exaggerated, like this for the F is super exaggerated. So think about, you know, I think having 6 shapes would be really good. So like the ah one is important, the O is important, the F is a good one. So think about getting them, looking at these and having it open while you're creating it. Here's one that's helpful, you know, because it's super simple. I think looking at really simplified ones can help you. So these are phonemes. You can just Google it and find ones that you like and sort of match with the style that you're using. Okay, so the mouth layer is going to be a new layer in the scene. So I'm going to create a new one for this and call it mouth 2. And so it's a totally new layer. You obviously want it above the character because the mouth is going to be sitting on top of the character. And you can create a mouth at rest shape in the beginning. And let me zoom in here. Just what the mouth looks like when it's not talking to start, and then we'll go into the library. So you can do it with either the brush tool, and I'm going to pick black because my outlines are black. I'm just going to get black in both the fill and you can really make it however you want. Remember with the brush tool, you do the right bracket key to make it bigger, and you can just do like and that could be a simple mouth shape. I don't love the way that looks. I have the smoothing turned up. For me, I kind of like the pen tool for this and using and playing with the variable width. So and then I can press this ink bottle tool and kind of mess around. See that right away creates a pretty good mouth. And then I can come in with my sub selection and make some adjustments. This can also be a place you start from with your other mouth movements. So I have a mouth at rest. You know, you could do a bottom lip too. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I only do a top lip. So you can lock all of your layers up on the top lock here to make sure you're not working on the wrong layer. That can happen when you're getting these super complicated, making these super complicated things. So I can make a bottom lip, and then I can come into the width tool here, and I can make that bigger, but this is starting to look a little funky. I can click on that and just delete the one that I don't want. There we go. So yeah, you can really do whatever you want with this. You can make your lips a different color. You can, sometimes I just like the top lip for the resting phase. But okay, so we have the lip created, and then I'm going to, okay, with the pen tool, when you have the variable width, sometimes this happens. If you use the brush tool, this won't happen. It can drive some people crazy. I don't mind. I just press shift and select the whole thing. So you're going to want to convert this to a graphic symbol. Right click, convert to symbol. I'm going to call it mouth 2. Press OK. And we want to double click on it to edit in the library but still see the face. I'm just double clicking on this, and now we can see I'm in mouth 2 in the library with my own timeline and layers in here, but I can still see the face, so I can know what it looks like on the actual face. So what we do is we create different movements and we can label them. So we're just really creating shapes. We're gonna just do it on 2 layers. So this layer 1 is where I have the mouth drawn, so I'm gonna call shapes. And then I'm gonna make a second layer that is labels, and that's gonna help us keep everything super organized. So this first shape is the resting shape, and what I suggest doing is creating them every 10 frames, because you're gonna have to remember these numbers later. You're gonna write them down or memorize them. So if they're every 10, it just makes it easier to remember 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I'm gonna press F6 here and F6 here, and I can make the label. So I'm on the labels layer, I'm clicking on frame 1, and then I can come into my properties and I see that label is here, and I can just name it rest. And then it shows up. So this whole labels layer is just like an organizing thing to name it. So I know that whole layer is rest. And then I can come to 20 and press F6 again. Press F6 again. And this is still here, but I can make like a, let's find my, you know, you can make an, I feel like the A is a good one, and it's kind of like a stretched out, and you can see the teeth. So maybe we can make this, I can zoom in, and I can come to my sub selection, which is A, and you can start adjusting these accordingly. And you can draw a whole new shape each time, but you certainly don't have to. And if I make them connecting, and then you can fill in with the bucket, like you can fill in like a dark red for the tongue. And then with the paintbrush, you can make some teeth if you wanted. So I can do white. And sometimes if you see the teeth, it makes it look. So you can add just like a layer of teeth in here. And you can also use this to readjust your mouth shape. Like the shape of the teeth can help readjust that. And I have my smoothing turned all the way up to 100 here, so it kind of fits in better. And then I can make my brush small and get in here. You can change your brush shape, and obviously you can spend a lot more time on this. Make your tooth look good. So yeah, you can make your lips red and the background in here black. You do not have to draw teeth, it's totally up to you. So that could be this shape. I want to select the whole thing, Control C, and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to delete this and paste it, edit, paste in place. So that starts at number 10. So we have the rest for the first 10 frames, and then starting at 10, we have this one that's maybe, I'll call it the ah shape. And then we don't see anything because I just wrote ah in the label on 10. To see the actual word, I have to come into 20 and press F6. So we can see that ah is there. And now we can do maybe the O shape. That's an important one too. So I'm just coming in to my direct selection, which is A. A. And I'm moving this in. And okay, I'm zoomed in as much as I can. So sometimes stuff gets messed up, and if you just have way too many points, you can come into your pen tool, delete anchor point tool, and you can just start removing a bunch of these that are in the way. Sometimes it deletes the whole thing because it's a point that it is vital, that is needed. So if it deletes everything, don't panic, just press Control-Z. But there's some out here that are looking kind of crazy. See, that deleted everything. I just do Control-Z. Let me get rid of some of these. Just trying to get rid of as many as I can. Well, that one I think I actually might have needed. Okay, now I can press A again, click on this and see what's happening. There's a lot going on here. So I'm just gonna make it the best I can. Just get this in more. You wanna be careful about, see, this is why I didn't show you how to draw everything, because it's really boring and just takes a bunch of time. But you wanna be careful about like twisting stuff like that, because that can start to look bad. So trying to see what's going on here. So you can just adjust yours. Maybe I'll try to delete this anchor point. Yeah, okay. Press A again. That looks better. So these teeth are kind of enormous. So I can make them smaller. Anyway. You can spend a lot more time adjusting yours. And then I could also come in with my regular selection, my V selection, press Q to get the free transform, and I could move it in like that. I could also transform envelope, and you can do a lot that way too. Just again, be careful about it getting too distorted. So I don't know if this is an O or an eh. But let's go to frame 30, press F6. See, that's there the whole time. And then up here to frame 30, I'm gonna press F6, and I'm gonna come to frame 20, and I'll label that O, just to. All right, so now we have the rush shape, we have the A shape, we have the O shape, and I think we need one more like EH. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come into 30, and I'm going to delete that and edit, paste in place for that other mouth. This one will go to 40, so I'm going to press F6 here. So I'm back at 30, and I want it to be like a bigger, wider, like saying like, like really enunciating. And I can make this, take the handles on here and make the mouth seem wider. And this one could even maybe get a bottom row of teeth to really show how open it is. And you can see in here it's getting messed up. I can try, sometimes you can come in with your paint bucket tool. First, I think I'm gonna have to close this gap here. But sometimes you can come in with the paint bucket and fill stuff in. Nope. Maybe this one will let me. Nope. So it's too open, so I do have to fix that with the brush tool. Or I could also come with I could either make it white to make the lips smaller and the teeth look bigger, or I can come in with a black brush to make the lips look wider. So that's totally up to you and your shape and what you want yours to look like. Maybe I will just go ahead and add some bottom teeth. Okay. So I just want to fill in all the shapes. So I'll call this, I'm going to come up into my label layer, name it that's what that is. And then remember, I don't see the label, so and also it changed. So see how it changed now in 40, it's smaller. So I want this whole part here to remain this shape. So I have it all selected. I'm going to Control C to copy. I'm coming into this layer and deleting what's there and doing Control V to make sure from 30 till we get to 40 it looks like that. Yeah. Did I not do paste in place? Edit, paste in place. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't do paste in place, it pastes it like just a little bit off. Okay, so now I want to see my label. I can tell there's a label there because there's like a little red flag thing, but I have to press on keyframe 40 in the labels layer and just press F6 to be able to actually read what is in that label. All right, so saving is good. So now we can come back and add, so you're gonna have like 5 or 6, you can have as many as you want, but you know, look up some of the phonemes and find ones that work for you and your character and build a couple different shapes. I think the F one is good. The F a lot of times looks like you're biting your lip. Let me see if I can find a good one. I mean this one, right? Biting the lip like that, that really looks like someone's talking. So think about how you can do that. Or that's how they do F here. Think about what makes sense for your character. Oh look, here's a good like F shape here. See how the lip is kind of being bitten? You can also look in the mirror and talk and see how that works. Okay, so before we get out of this mouth library, take time to write down what each is. So I'm gonna write down, you know, frame 1 is rest, frame 10 is the ah, frame 20 is O, and frame 30 is EH. So I just have them written down on a piece of scrap paper, so I don't have to keep coming back into this library to look at the labels. If you're good at memorizing stuff, then that's awesome. And then we can come back into the scene, and we have the mouth layer on mouth 2, and you can see it's like, if I, since we zoomed in, it's jumping around. So we need to fix that. So we want it at rest for the first until it jumps, right? So I can make an F6 here, and I want this to stay resting. So we can, I don't want it moving at all because I haven't started talking yet. So I'm in this mouth 2 layer. I pressed F6 to make a keyframe. I have to click on the mouth. This is kind of annoying because if you're clicked out of it, you don't have the option. So I need to click on the mouth, and in the properties where it says looping, make sure to open that up, and instead of loop, you want single frame, and this is where we're just typing in the frame 1. And come here, click on the mouth, single frame, so I'm in the first frame, and I'm just doing 1. Okay, now it's gonna stay on that 1 frame the whole time. Now I need to get it resized and moved over to match this. So I'm where the jump was. So the jump cut is here. in my character and background. So I'm going to press F6 to make a keyframe here. And I'm going to Control X, and then I'm going to Control V, get it here, and it's super small, so I'm pressing Q and I'm holding Shift to zoom and get it, and get it in the right place. Press V to just click on it and get it all set up. Okay, so now the mouth is the right size. It's gonna jump. I feel like it's not totally in the right place, but you can spend more time. So we have it all set up, and now we need to match it with the mouth movements. So I'm gonna play this a little bit.
Testing, testing.
So right here is where the mouth starts moving, right here. So I have all my other layers locked. I'm in the mouth layer. I'm clicking in the frame where it's going to start the first movement. I'm pressing F6. I have to select the mouth. My options are staying at single frame since I set it up like that. And now I'm just typing in the frame I need for the mouth shape. So maybe I'll do 30. And we can see that I didn't have it, I made it kind of too big. So I'm going to Control Z, and I'm going to come back here. I'm going to Control Z again to get rid of, I was in this frame number where you type it in doing Control Z, so it wasn't allowing me to do that. So I'm going to do Control Z to get rid of that frame there, and I'm going to come back and fix the size of this. So I'm going to press Q, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. And I'm just going to move it over so we have the space for it. See how that looks. So I'm going to come back, start over where I want it to start talking. So this one before, right here. And I'm going to press F6. I'm going to click on the mouth. I'm in my V selection, click on the mouth, and I'm going to press 30. So that's
testing.
And then I want it to change again here at the next movement. And remember, you can zoom this in to really see where the movements are starting. So let's see, so then I'm coming to this frame, I'm pressing F6, F6, I'm clicking on the mouth, and maybe I need the ah sound, which is 10. So we can see
testing.
We can keep changing it. So I'm just gonna do one more. So I'm pressing F6, clicking on the mouth, and then I'm doing my next shape, which is 20. That's where my O shape is. So now we can do fit in frame, fit in window, and press play. Let's see how that looks.
Testing, 1, 2.
And you can see I just put 3 in, but I can keep on adding them for each movement that I want it to create. So you just keep going with that, and that's how it works. If you have an updated version of Adobe on your computer, there is this auto lip sync option. So if you're in looping and you see this lip syncing option, this is here. I will put the link to it in the tutorial in the Canvas page so you can see how to do it. So there is an auto lip sync option where you don't have to do all of these steps in the updated version of Adobe CC, which we don't have on the school computers, because I sent you all an email about why we're waiting on that. So if you do have it at home, you can experiment with this. It's a really quick video and it could save you some time. this, you know, doesn't take forever. You just have to sit and set it up. I think the thing, you still, with the auto version, you still have to build all of the actual shapes of the character's, you know, mouth. So you don't get around actually drawing each of the shapes. That would be nice, but it's still a lot of work. What it saves you time is this part of adding the keyframes and, you know, saying which frame and which shape is attached to each frame. Okay, so you're just going to continue doing that. Okay, so then you're just going to export the same way we've been exporting. Remember to make those adjustments to the sound to make it sound a little bit better. If you're a person who is musical and works on sound, you can feel free to bring it into Premiere and make adjustments that way. If you don't want to do that, you do not. Okay, so make sure you go to File, Publish Settings to set up the sound like we've done before. So you're going to go to the audio stream, you click on this, make sure to turn the bitrate up to 160 and make the quality best. So make sure to change that. You can uncheck Convert Stereo to Mono and press OK. So that should make it sound better. If you're a music person, you can make other adjustments as well and press OK. And then you're going to do the same thing we've been doing, the file, export, video. Just make sure everything is set up, the render size is correct. And then you want to also make sure it's saved to the correct folder here. And then it'll go into Media Encoder, and from Adobe Media Encoder is where you make it an MP4, that H.264 format. So make sure you make it an MP4 and just change those quality settings for the sound so it sounds good. Again, if you're a person who does a lot of audio, you can feel free to bring it into Premiere or another program to change up the audio and add some more interesting stuff in there, but you do not have to do that. All right, have fun.